Hello and welcome to this day in history for December the 22nd. December 22nd is the 356th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, with 9 days remaining until the end of the year. And today's word is fabulist. A fabulist is a storyteller. Your uncle who spends holiday gatherings telling stories that end with clear morals is a fabulist, and so is your cousin who invents long, complicated excuses for being late to school every morning. Someone who writes or recites fables, moralistic tales that often feature animals as characters, is one kind of fabulist. The ancient Greek fabulist Aesop, for example, composed many stories about talking animals that ended with important moral lessons. Another kind of fabulist is a person who tells tall tales or who lies. The root of fabulist is the old French fable, lie or pretense, from the Latin fabula, story, play, or tale, or literally that which is told. Earliest documented use of this word is 1593. And today, 3 days before Christmas. Before we get started, I want to mention that my baby brother Jimmy was born on this day in 1968. I wouldn't ordinarily give away someone's birth year if it wasn't already out there on Wikipedia, but my dear brother is no longer with us. He died in a bizarre work-related accident in May of 1997. His children were so young. Were he still alive, he would be turning 51 today. Rest in peace, my brother Jimmy. Gone but not forgotten. And with that, we're going to move forward with the year 69 AD. We're going to mention Vespasian, and didn't we just talk about him the other day? Vespasian. Well, on this day in history, Vespasian was proclaimed Emperor of Rome. In 1808, Ludwig von Beethoven conducted and performed in Vienna with the premiere of his Fifth Symphony, Sixth Symphony, Fourth Piano Concerto, in which Beethoven himself performed, and Choral Fantasy with Beethoven at the piano. In 1864, General Sherman presented President Lincoln with a Christmas gift of Savannah, Georgia. I present to you a whole city. That's probably not exactly how it went. In 1917, Russian-German peace talks began at Brest-Litovsk. Not sure that's how the Russians would pronounce it, but I'm not Russian. In 1937, the Lincoln Tunnel opened to traffic in New York City. In 1941, Churchill and Roosevelt discussed war and peace. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill arrived in Washington, D.C. for a series of meetings with President Franklin Roosevelt on a unified Anglo-American war strategy and a future peace. In 1956, the first gorilla was born in captivity. December 22, 1956, a baby gorilla named Kolo entered the world at the Columbus Zoo in Ohio, becoming the first ever gorilla born in captivity. Weighing in at approximately 4 pounds, Kolo, a western lowland gorilla whose name was a combination of Columbus and Ohio, was the daughter of Millie and Mac, 2 gorillas captured in French Cameroon, Africa, who were brought to the Columbus Zoo in 1951. Before Kolo's birth, gorillas found at zoos were caught in the wild, and often by brutal means. In order to capture a gorilla when it was young, and therefore still small enough to handle, hunters frequently killed the gorilla's parents and other family members. Gorillas are native to Africa and live in small groups led by one adult male known as a silverback. There are 3 subspecies of gorilla: the western lowland, eastern lowland, and mountain. The subspecies are similar, and the majority of gorillas in captivity are western lowland. Gorillas are vegetarians whose only natural enemy is the humans who hunt them. On average, a gorilla lives to 35 years in the wild and 50 years in captivity. At the time Kolo was born, captive gorillas often never learned parenting skills from their own parents in the wild, so the Columbus Zoo built her a nursery, and she was reared by zookeepers. In the years since Kolo's arrival, zookeepers have developed habitats that simulate a gorilla's natural environment, and many captive-born gorillas are now raised by their mothers. In situations where this doesn't work, zoos have created surrogacy programs in which infants are briefly cared for by humans and then handed over to other gorillas to raise. Nowadays, most zoos are active in captive breeding programs and have agreed not to buy gorillas born in the wild. Since Kolo's birth, 30 gorillas have been born at the Columbus Zoo alone. Kolo died in 2017. 1968, Julie Nixon married David Eisenhower. Both progeny of United States presidents, they tied the knot in New York City. 1971, the Soviet Union attacked Chinese policy towards Vietnam. In 1978, John Wayne Gacy confessed to dozens of murders. In 1989, the Romanian government fell as the army defected to anti-communist demonstrators, and the government of Nicolae Ceausescu was overthrown, ending 42 years of communist rule. This came 3 days after Ceausescu's security forces opened fire on demonstrators in Timisoara. Not sure how well I'm pronouncing the names from the other side of the planet, but I do my best. I also want to mention that there were a lot of creatives, notables, and showbiz people with birthdays on this day in various years. Maurice Gibb from the Bee Gees, Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick, the baseball player Steve Garvey, Diane Sawyer, the game show host Gene Rayburn, the actress Barbara Billingsley, the 38th First Lady of the United States, Lady Bird Johnson, and politician Ted Cruz were all born on December 22nd in various years. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, links to my research are included in the show notes. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And feel free to share this video with others. While you're here, check out my other channel, 8 Susquehanna, link in the show notes. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Alrighty, back to work. Alright, okie dokie, Smokey. Let's just rearrange that a little bit. Just read it like it's written. Sometimes when you read the words, it's not quite enough if you haven't put enough words in there to begin with. That's not the way I like to tell it anyway. We don't need all those words. Hope I pronounced that right. So many edits. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? She's not a man. Did I do this whole thing without a microphone? Dadgummit. This is why I don't do live shows.